Octopus arms can think for themselves. Each arm has hundreds of neurons that allow it to taste and react to touch without the brain's direct input. An octopus could lose an arm, and for a short time, that arm can still grab and respond to stimuli on its own. Bananas are technically berries, but strawberries are not. In botanical terms, a berry must grow from a single ovary of a flower, which bananas do. Strawberries grow from multiple ovaries, so they're considered an aggregate fruit. Your stomach gets a new lining every 3 to 4 days. This constant renewal prevents it from digesting itself with its own acid. If this process stopped, your stomach would literally start to consume its own tissue. Sharks existed before trees. Sharks have roamed the oceans for over 400 million years, while trees appeared roughly 350 million years ago. For millions of years, the planet had oceans full of predators, but no forests. You can estimate lightning's distance by counting seconds. Light reaches your eyes almost instantly, but sound travels 1 mile in about 5 seconds. If you see lightning and hear thunder 7 seconds later, it struck roughly 1.4 miles away. The deepest part of the ocean is nearly 7 miles down. In the Mariana Trench, the pressure is over 1,000 times what we feel on the surface. Very few life forms survive there, and most are species we've barely observed. The air in subway tunnels moves like slow, invisible tides. Engineers call it the piston effect. Trains push air ahead of them and pull it behind, which is why you sometimes feel a warm gust before the train appears. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest man-made structure for 3,800 years. It held that record until the Lincoln Cathedral was completed in England in 1311 AD. Your body has more bacterial cells than human cells. Trillions of bacteria live in and on you, especially in your gut. They outnumber your human cells, and many are essential for digestion and even mood regulation. Some trees can communicate through underground networks. Fungi connect roots, allowing trees to share nutrients and send warning signals about drought or insect attacks. Forests have been called the Wood Wide Web. Your brain is sometimes more active when you sleep than when you're awake. During REM sleep, neurons fire rapidly to consolidate memories and process emotions, creating vivid dreams that often vanish within seconds of waking. The world's oldest known piece of chewing gum is over 9,000 years old. It was made from birch bark tar and discovered in Finland, with human tooth marks still visible. Whales can remember the voices of other whales for decades. Some humpbacks have been documented responding to songs and calls they last heard more than 20 years earlier. The London Underground has several abandoned stations. Some still have posters from the 1950s clinging to the walls. Rare maintenance visits show dust, decay, and complete silence where thousands once passed daily. Human bones are stronger than concrete by weight. Femurs can support 30 times the weight of an average adult, though bones are brittle against certain angles and twists. The Amazon River once flowed in the opposite direction. Millions of years ago, the Andes Mountains rose and reversed its flow, sending water to the Atlantic instead of the Pacific. A day on Venus is longer than its year. The planet spins so slowly that one rotation takes 243 Earth days. while its orbit around the sun takes only 225. In Tokyo's subway tunnels, air pressure sometimes creates ghostly echoes. Operators say it sounds like footsteps following the train, but it's just wind moving through old shafts. Your heartbeat synchronizes slightly with the music you hear. Slow songs can lower your heart rate, while sudden rhythms or sharp tones can trigger tiny, involuntary spikes. Every 27 years or so, the cells in your skeleton are almost entirely replaced. You're walking around in bones that are slowly but surely younger than your birth certificate. Sleep paralysis affects roughly 8% of people at least once in life. You wake up unable to move, often with the sensation that someone or something is in the room. Scientists believe it's a misfire between REM sleep and consciousness. Jellyfish are functionally immortal in some species. The immortal jellyfish can revert its cells to a younger state after injury, theoretically allowing it to avoid natural aging entirely. Most of the ocean remains unexplored, over 80%. We have detailed maps of the Moon and Mars, but our own planet's deep sea holds countless unknown species and uncharted landscapes. Your body can sense when someone is staring at you. Studies suggest humans have evolved hypersensitive peripheral vision and subtle cues that alert us to being watched. Caves can breathe. Large underground cave systems inhale and exhale air as temperatures and outside pressures shift. The sound can resemble distant whispers or slow wind. If you dig deep into New York City's subways, some maintenance tunnels still hold water from the 1800s. Stale and motionless, it sits trapped in pockets, sealed away from the modern system. Astronauts often report losing their sense of direction in space. Without gravity, up and down become meaningless, and some describe feeling like the universe is slowly rotating around them instead. Long exposure to silence can trigger auditory hallucinations. In soundproof rooms, most people begin to hear phantom noises or their own heartbeat after 20 to 30 minutes. Some people wake up in the night because their brain thinks they are falling. This is called a hypnic jerk, and it's a leftover reflex from our primate ancestors sleeping in trees. If a star passes too close to a black hole, it gets stretched into a stream of gas. This process is known as spaghettification. Some of that material will orbit for millennia before vanishing. When astronauts leave Earth orbit, their bodies can swell slightly. The lack of gravity lets fluids rise into the upper body, making faces puffier and legs thinner. It returns to normal after landing. Your brain deletes and rewrites memories. Every time you recall a memory, slightly changes before being stored again. Many vivid memories are, in part, invented. Bodies left at extreme depths of the ocean often remain preserved. The cold, high-pressure environment slows decay so much that the ocean floor is like a frozen archive of lost ships and their passengers. More people have visited the moon than the deepest ocean trench. The Mariana Trench has had fewer human visitors than the lunar surface because of its crushing pressures and darkness. The largest living organism on Earth is invisible from the surface. A fungus in Oregon stretches for nearly 4 square miles underground, slowly feeding and growing, unnoticed by most life above. If you spend enough time in complete darkness, your brain starts to create faint flashes of light. This is your visual cortex trying to interpret a world with no input, the mind generating ghosts of its own. After death, some bodies can produce a faint groan or movement. This is due to gases escaping and muscles contracting post-mortem, a physiological reality often mistaken for something supernatural. Subway tunnels experience temperature shifts even with no trains running. Warm air rises from deep earth vents, and cold drafts sink, creating a slow, invisible rhythm through empty stations. The last sense to fade as you fall asleep is hearing, which is why some people report hearing faint whispers, knocks, or imagined sounds as they drift toward unconsciousness. If you hold perfectly still in silence, you can hear the sound of your own blood. It is a soft, rushing pulse behind your ears, a reminder that even in perfect stillness, your body never truly sleeps. Your skeleton is never truly still. Even in total rest, your bones are being dissolved and rebuilt by special cells called osteoclasts and osteoblasts. By the end of your life, almost every piece of your skeleton has been replaced multiple times. When you close your eyes, your brain continues to process the faintest flickers of light. In perfect darkness, these signals can appear as phantom flashes or moving shapes, your mind's way of filling the void. At the bottom of some lakes are dead zones, where oxygen never reaches. Anything that sinks there, fish, plants, even human bodies, can remain preserved for decades in cold, silent water. Sleepwalking can lead people to perform complex actions without waking. Documented cases include driving, cooking, and leaving their homes. Most have no memory of it, as if another version of themselves briefly took over. A large portion of the ocean's biomass rises toward the surface each night and sinks again by morning. This massive daily migration of sea life, called the Deal vertical migration, is the largest movement of organisms on Earth, and it happens mostly in darkness, unseen. Your hearing never fully turns off, even in deep sleep. Your brain continues to monitor for threats. That's why sudden noises in the night can enter your dreams or wake you in a rush of fear. Bodies in space will not decompose the same way they do on Earth. Without oxygen and bacteria, a corpse can remain intact for decades, orbiting silently until it is pulled into a planet's atmosphere or drifts forever. Psychologists have documented a phenomenon called the feeling of presence. In extreme isolation, some people sense someone nearby, standing just out of sight, even when they know they are alone. Astronauts and mountaineers report it most. There are entire caves filled with nothing but bones, natural traps, ancient floods, or volcanic activity created underground chambers where animals, and sometimes humans, fell and were preserved for centuries in the dark. If you spend enough time in utter silence, your heartbeat and breathing can start to feel unbearably loud. In rare cases, people report feeling like they can hear their own blood moving, and some describe the sensation as hearing themselves alive.